Am I blue?
Yeah, I do look blue today for Comic Art Live episode 11. I don't know why that is. And everybody can hear you, Mike, just so you know. I didn't mute you.
So,
Am I blue?
Bill, I might have to jump in and out just so you know.
I know. All right, so for episode 11 today, we've got Collector Paul Aguila. Of course, we've got Will Gabrielle and Mike Berkey, and Glenn Brunswick will be with me. I put together just a really quick montage of of the 5 pieces that Paul has in his gallery today. So I'll just kind of show that, and then we'll get started with today's chat. I love this page. Nice Ramos, of course. Bill Everett, Daredevil 1, right?
I love this page.
Holy moly.
And of course, yeah.
The Mac Daddy.
Absolutely. Prime Byrne. All right. Hey, Paul. Welcome to the show.
Hey.
Paul.
Hey,
Oh,
So look, we've got
Got you
Ohio
here.
on the top row here. So I don't know what we are represented very well.
That's
Oh,
right.
wait.
You're Ohioan.
All right.
and we're the coast.
That's right. That's true. Somehow we've got this thing worked out because I'm in Northeast Ohio. Paul
right.
is in Columbus, and Berkey, he kind of lives a little bit between the two of us, but closer towards me. So, Paul, hey, like we challenge everybody to start things off, and we always want to know what your origin story is. You know, how long you've been collecting, what got you started collecting original comic art. And so I'm going to turn this floor over to you.
Okay, sure, thanks. Well, I mean, a lifelong comic book reader. I started just like everybody else. I remember my dad buying me comic books. We go to the convenience store, pick them up, and even back then when they had them bagged, 3 to a bag. And anyway, fast forward, 30 plus years. I don't want to age myself, but I'm working with my friend James, who's one of my best friends, and he shows me. We got to talking about stuff, and he never talked to me about art, but we talked about comic books and stuff like that. And he said something like, you want to see something cool? And I'm like, yeah, sure, show me. And when I was growing up as a kid, I wanted to be an artist. So when he showed me this first piece of art, I was blown away. I mean, I thought it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It's like seeing behind the curtain, kind of thing. And ever since then, I mean, I been crazy about this stuff. Like I remember my very first purchase. It was from Hans K. And growing up in the 70s and the 80s, I kind of gravitated towards bronze art. But for some reason, when I was looking at the modern stuff, I think I must have got like a free comic book for one of my kids. And I saw a piece of art from Humberto Ramos. And I was just like, man, this is not anything that we read or that I was familiar with growing up. And it was like really dynamic, and it really kind of drew me in, and it kind of rekindled that interest that I had, with art or with comics. And, from there, it just kind of built up. I was able to meet Humberto's rep, a guy by the name of Joseph Damon, really, really cool guy, easy to work with. It's kind of a plug, but, Joe is a really cool guy. And, from there, picking the brains of all the great, collectors such as yourselves, all of you guys, we were talking about it before the show started. Sorry for bugging you all these years with all my questions. But yeah, my friend James showed me the ins and outs of what the hobby was. And I took the knowledge that I had growing up reading comics and understanding, what I liked in an artist, the styles, the different, I guess, personalities, behind the artist's pen, or pencil. And that's what I really liked. And I could identify with it. And but that's pretty much where I came from. Kind of convoluted story, but that's
Not
it.
at all.
That first piece of art, Paul, was that a Spider-Man by Ramos you got, or what was the title?
Yeah, it was a page from actually the Free Comic Book Day.
That's what I was wondering, huh?
Yeah, it was. And it was an unbelievable experience, and it was really scary. Not to buy that first page, but the next jump, because I found that I wasn't satisfied with just a page. I wanted to get not a splash or a cover. And so, you know, when I saw the cover, I was thinking, you know, you jump from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000, and for an average guy, it's just like, that's nuts, you know. And
what was the timeline on that jump? Was it like when did
oh,
when
yeah,
what
couple months,
couple months?
and that was it.
Pretty quick.
And yeah, ever since then, it's just been downhill. you know, it's
Uphill.
So what's the one piece that like for me, for example, I was at San Diego, and I was thinking about purchasing the FF53 story, and at the time it was like I think it was like $35,000, and before that, my largest purchase had been like $5,000. So
right.
like to go from 5 to 35, you know, in one show seemed like pretty insane, and somehow I managed to like get the courage to do that. But like what like for you, what was like that big purchase where you said like, oh man, like I don't know if I can do this. Like
yeah,
you had to swallow hard and, you know,
yeah, I've
make the jump.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those, but the first big one, to answer your question, I think it was, gosh, you know, it might have been one that we were talking about earlier, where we were talking about a cover that I bought from Mike. Great cover. I wish I still had it. That was one of them.
That was Marvel team up Byrne cover with Iron Man and Whiplash, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Burning by Bob Layton. That was a great cover.
Yeah,
It was.
and those kind of, I guess from a what is it called, a less seasoned collector as myself compared to you guys, you know, when you start thinking about going from, you know, even just a you know, $1,000 piece, and then you're going to much more than that, you know, I don't have the, you know, the sustainable income to buy stuff like that, you know, and so sometimes it takes, you know, building up like trade assets, or to build up, right?
No, we've all gone through that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean,
Gone through, and some are still going through.
yeah, but I mean, I think it's like it becomes a question of, at a certain point when you're really reaching for things that you want, like then it becomes like a choice where you're like saying like, well, what do I love that thing, but what do I have to give up to get it, you know? And
you know, to your point, that's one of the things that, like, a lot of my friends tease me, right? And they say that, like, I get a piece and then I show it, and then they think that it's going to be gone in like a week or 2 weeks or something. Like, it's premeditated that I'm not going to hold on to it. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes that might be the case, but mostly it is that I want something else more, and I want something else different. And if you know, if you call it being fickle, then, you know, what comes with the art, you know, that's how I am, you know. And
right.
I think, you know, so one of the other questions that you asked me was, what was my biggest jump? You know, for a
Right.
piece, that was it. But I've gone through the stages of trying to buy, and by luck or fortune, or just digging hard, you know, I'll find a collection. And if I find a collection, I might try to grab the whole collection in order to fund purchases for stuff that I want for myself.
Sure. Sure.
You know, because you know, we don't all have 6-figure incomes, disposable money like that, and you know, I don't think there's anything.
There's nothing wrong with buying low and selling high.
Yeah, and especially,
It's the American way.
Yeah, I mean, especially if the other person, you know, that's what they sell it for. If that's what their
Right.
price is, and
Sure.
you know. So, but I mean, that's beside the point. I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, you can see by my collection, I only have 5 pieces, and that's there for a reason. And if you go on my comic art fan gallery, you'll see that the for sale status says family collection. That's also for a reason. You know, I get to enjoy these for as long as I'm around, and then after I'm not around, that's why they're family collection, because that's my sons and my wife. And, you know, that's, I don't want to sound corny or share too much, but that's my world, you know, so that's where it's going to go. But for now, while I'm alive and I can look at these and I can appreciate them because they remind me of my childhood, hey, that's cool, you know.
No, that's great.
I really appreciate it.
So Paul,
Yeah.
a lot of collectors that I've met over the years have a hard time letting go of things. What got you to the point, aside from trying to fund bigger things that you want more, but what got you to the point? What was able to emotionally get you to detach from one piece, splash, cover page, whatever it is, or several pieces, and
Right.
put it into the next? I mean, I know what works for me, but I'm just curious what
Yeah.
works for you.
A big thing that works for me is, as you can see, I'm a big Ramos collector, right? Or a big Ramos fan. And I amassed a large collection. I had one of the biggest ones out there I would say one of the biggest ones out there containing a lot of key pieces. And one of the things that what helped me to let go was the camaraderie I had. I have another friend, his name is also Paul, right? And he's also a big Ramos fan. And I know that if I let it go to him, it's going somewhere where it actually means something to the other person.
Sure.
And he's gonna keep it, and he's gonna, he's a true fan, and he's not one that he's almost as crazy as I am. Like when you get to be obsessive about collecting a certain artist's work, he's almost as crazy as me, but not quite. But he loves the stuff. He loves Ramos' work, and that's why I was able to let it go to him. I probably like 90% of it, and I only have one cover left.
I used to, admittedly, I used to confuse you guys when I first met you both on the internet. I would, I would have to like look a little like Paul P. Paul, So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I can't remember what else we were going to talk about.
So that Marvel team up cover, because I used to own that one as well with Whiplash, and I think the reason I originally let it go, I mean, Byrne was probably my favorite artist. He's still definitely one of my top 2 or 3. But I let that go many years ago. I don't know if it was to fund something else, but I was always very particular with Byrne and Spider-Man. I felt that was one of the few characters he was not perfectly matched with.
Mm-hmm.
And other people feel differently about that, but you put Byrne with Fantastic Four, X-Men, and pretty much anyone he teamed up with the Thing. But something about Spider-Man just wasn't quite pitch perfect for me. But did you let that go for something specific, or?
No, I think it was just one of those cases. It might have been, if I'm trying to remember the timeline, it might have been around the time when I made the move to get the bullpen piece.
Okay.
It might have been around the time, because when I had to get that, I had to let go of a lot, and that was one of the pain points. But it was worth it, well worth it.
So since you segued nicely, let's talk about that. So the bullpen bulletins piece, which is basically John Byrne's self-portrait that you now proudly own, and we had several discussions before you complete. I don't know, even when you first talked with me about it, did you know where it was, or you were pursuing it, or I'm not even sure.
Well, it was one of the pieces I never really ever thought that I'd have a shot at, and I think later on in my collecting, it was like, after I got far enough along, I started getting really gutsy, and I go, probably unwisely and foolishly, I go for these pieces that I look for them. If I don't see them online, I'm like, I want to find that, and that's my thing. It's like a lot of my friends know me for being pretty obsessive, and like I bug people, I pester them, I dig, I try to reach and research, and the way that it came about was that I asked people like yourself. I went through my whole list of contacts, all my friends, and found that nobody knew where it was. And then I did the same thing that everybody else does on CGC forum, in the want list. I just listed it. I said, hey, I'm looking for this. Anybody know where it is? And to my surprise, somebody contacted me, and I was able to, or he was able to facilitate a deal with me and the owner, and it was great. Really great. Really, really surprised and happy with this one. And I mean, I am really a diehard Byrne fan. I know I said I'm a Ramos fan, but Byrne is the guy that I grew up reading, and he's And it's something really funny, but I got one of my neighbors in my neighborhood somewhere. His name is John Byrne too. So.
That's
the
strange.
truth. That is the truth.
Now this piece, if I may, so this piece I had Jim Warden, who's a buddy of mine and was John Byrne, well, I guess still is John Byrne's agent. I had met him in the early '90s, and I had asked him about it. Did he know where it was? And he didn't. He said it never got returned to John. And I just figured like, oh, I'll never find it. But this was a piece I remembered from my childhood. And flash forward maybe 2 or 3 years later, Jim contacts me and says, "Hey, are you still interested in that bullpen bulletins piece? Because my contact at Marvel just found it and is going to return it to me." And I was like, hell yeah. So I got this somewhere around 1995 or 96 for $1,500, which was it seems like nothing now. I was very happy to pay it. It felt cheap to me. A lot of people thought it wasn't so cheap, but I just thought this was a fantastic piece. And for Byrne Collector, other than certain covers, it's hard to do better. It's really a fantastic. It's oversized if we haven't mentioned that, or if it's hasn't been mentioned. But it's a pretty spectacular piece. And to me, it's one of the last pieces before his style starts to sort of change, when he starts sort of experimenting in around 1984. So
I see. What year does that say in the bottom left corner? 1980 what?
Should say 82 or 83, right, Paul?
Oh, 83. There it is.
83,
okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a really fantastic piece. Even if you're not a Byrne collector, you got to admit that that's like a pretty special piece. Yeah.
Everybody's coming to the drawing board.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got the you can see the size difference. I don't know if you want me to pull it up, but that's a regular 11 by 17. So it's quite a bit.
That's twice
bigger.
up plus.
Right. Yeah.
It's I don't.
It looks like is it like the same size as your Daredevil page that's in front of it?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah, I think it's 12 by 18 image. It's pretty much full bleed, right?
Yeah.
Little tiny bit of border maybe.
No, it is full bleed. Yeah. It's
Okay.
all the way to the,
So I got to ask you, like, your Daredevil page is probably like one of the favorite pieces. I remember when you posted that, I was like, wow, that blew me away. That is a phenomenal page. So what can you share any of the history of how that came to pass? How you got that piece?
Yeah, I just one of the online groups. I noticed it in the background of a post that I don't think it was at the time. I don't think it was really featured or anything like that. And that's one of those kind of things that I do sometimes too, where like you like watch TV and you see somebody being interviewed and you check out the background of what's behind them, right? And I've seen people do that in posts too on Facebook, where they're like, "Hey, so has this." I'm pretty sure that's where it came from, but at any rate, I bought it from a really, really, really nice guy, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity. This one is, I didn't think I was going to be able to have a shot at it.
It's so great. I mean, it's one of the best pages I've ever seen from the story. It's just like from head to toe, it's phenomenal. Each panel is great.
That's an extra length story, and we've seen lots of. When I remember when this book was broken up, every page was there except for the splash. But we've seen a lot of pages come out over the years, and Glenn is right. It's definitely one of the best that's come out since the book was broken.
Is it true that the backgrounds were done by different artists that you guys know of? Somebody told me that. I read somewhere that
it's hard to know exactly. Like this one looks really like very much Everett to me. I had heard that Steve Ditko had inked some of the pages and some of the backgrounds. It was kind of like an all hands on deck kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at this page from panel to panel, it really reeks of Everett in every panel. I don't see anything other than that personally, but
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Chris Ware was one of the other artists rumored to have worked on this book, unless I'm remembering something wrong. But yeah, Glenn's right. It was an all hands on deck, as were a lot of very early Marvel pages.
Yeah.
I noticed in the one of the reprints, if you kind of take a look at that last panel where he's getting hit with the billy club and the guy's making his face. One of the reprints I saw, I think it did some kind of a modification, so where the guy looks like he has like his mouth is like kind of small. They redrew over it, or they drew over it, and he's like got a wide open mouth. And that was one of the things that kind of held me back when I first saw it, because you have to be careful when you're buying. And I really kind of looked back and forth a lot of times between the published picture and then this one. And I mean, I don't have any doubt that that's what happened.
Yeah,
probably, at some point it got, like the print quality was so bad, they just, to sharpen it up, they filled in, whatever they could or what they thought should have been there.
Right.
I don't know if that seemed like a logical thing to me, but I don't have any doubt about that.
The other thing you can say about this page is it's early in the story, so you would think that like Everett started the book and then got into trouble in terms of deadline, so that the later it's more likely that the later pages have other assistants,
Anyway. That page is definitely legitimate, real, genuine. There's no doubt. Subtle changes on artwork is very common in production. It does scare a lot of collectors, particularly when you're not as experienced. But there's other telltale things you can look for. It's just something you learn. Great page, though.
Absolutely. I love that page, Paul. In fact, the thing you were bugging me about, if you want to trade for that thing, we can talk about it.
I knew that was coming.
I had to.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the guys, guys that know me that are watching this, or guys that I've reached out to, there's a number of them. And the reason is because thanks to Bill, your website's so awesome, man. I went, this is how obsessive I am. I went from A to Z, every single gallery, everybody's gallery. That was one of the first things that I did. And, had a mental note of who has what their likes are, their preferences and stuff like that. And, it really is an awesome thing that you made for everybody. And, I'm really appreciative. I know I probably said it in the email when I bugged you, but now I get to say it to you live. Thank you. It's really cool. Really cool.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. You've I haven't gone through the site A to Z, so I'm envious.
I think you might have won out most of us.
Yeah.
Right. But, that is something really smart, though, because I always hear from collectors that use CAF a lot, and they do like to know what who likes what. And a lot of them take notes, because you never know when there's going to be a situation where Will wants something that Glenn's got, and you want something Will has, and you've got to figure out how to make a deal work and pull Mike in to get it done. And so the more research you can do on what other collectors' interests are, the better off you are to kind of complete a deal that might not have ever been able to get done otherwise. I hear about that all the time.
Yeah.
Bill, you just laid out the first 15 years of my collecting career, but it's so much harder now.
Right. Oh no, and it's funny. I had a guy tell me a couple weeks ago where there was a piece he really wanted, and the guy just said, I can't even remember what the piece was, but he said he mentioned a specific artist and a title, and he said, if you can find me that, we can work this out. And so this guy literally had to work out a deal between 2 or 3 other guys to get the piece that this guy wanted, just so that he could then trade it with cash to get the piece that this other guy had.
And that's Comic Art Olympics is what we
I used to say that same thing. When the CBG came around, I always used to say, I always say the whole term of collector, is collect. And I can't tell you how many times a guy would have, when I first started collecting through the CBG, a guy would have a Ramita Spider-Man page, and I said, what do you want for it? He goes, oh, no. I don't want cash for this. You find me a Jack Kirby X-Men or a Jack Kirby FF, and then we'll work a trade. And I thought, I guess I should probably still buy stuff that I don't collect. As long as I think I can make money on it, then I'll do it. And that's sort of what, like we all did, and that's sort of the thing. And
well, you know what happened, as we all know, when prices went way up, you couldn't just pick up everything to have it sitting around just in case. But once upon a time, I think we all used to do that a lot more, because the holding cost just wasn't nearly as great as it is now.
Well, before the internet and before the auctions, really, that was when, I started going to, you know, Motor City Con, Chicago Con. You had to go to conventions, meet artists, buy stuff from artists, wheel and deal, sell it to make profit, to buy the stuff, then have trade stash to trade your buddies for the stuff you wanted. That for people that absolutely do not want to sell, they will only take trade, you know.
True.
That's when you got to buy stuff and wheel and deal for stuff you don't collect, so that you can call that, you know, use that for trade for the stuff you do collect. So,
Yep.
you know, we sort of, that's Paul, I said, that's,
Yeah.
you did the right thing pestering, but I said, you know, there's that saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You keep talking to enough people, you know, eventually something hits, and that's how you got that burn piece. And, you know,
Yeah, you know, and the other part of it is I really sincerely hope that, you know, all the guys that I've helped find stuff, also, you know, it feels like a camaraderie where what comes around goes around, and, you know, you help other guys, and then when they see stuff, they look out for you, and
Absolutely.
you try not to try. I've had guys that are really good guys that, you know, I say that I want to go for this one, you know, and they say, oh, don't worry, I'll step back for you. Like, and there's some guys that out there that, you know, they've done that for me, and I'm really appreciative of it, you know.
it's all about networking. Yep.
And that's the way it should be, you know. And 9 times out of 10, that's, you know, that's how it works.
Yeah,
that's very true.
but so, you know, we were talking about my kind of like my origin story, right? So I got like a what if story, right? So the first time I met Mike was not actually for comic art. The first time I met Mike, this is when Mike, you had your comic book shop in Kent. And I know I always tell you this every time I see you. I just got back from San Diego Comic Con, and this is like 1991, maybe 92, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I opened up the store in 91. So
yeah. So I came back, and I had a renewed love for comics again. And when I was at the show, I had like signed. I saw all the Image guys when Wildstorm was coming out. They had a big table, and I got signatures from Jim Lee, you know, Silvestri, all those guys, McFarlane, you know, all on comic books. And I took them into Mike, and this is before I knew about comic art, and I don't remember seeing any comic art there at your store.
No, I only put comic art up at very last 2 years I had the shop.
Yeah. So there I was just really concentrated on. I think I traded you to get a Ghost Rider 1. Xavier Saltera's, you know, the Ghost Rider 1 book.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. But every time I think back to that, I always wonder if you had comic art in the shop then, and I would have seen it, being as crazy and obsessive as I am today, what would I have today?
Yeah, believe it or not, probably around 95, 96, I used to put up, you know, Spidey Super Stories pages for $20, and believe it or not, like Sal Buscema's Spectacular Spider-Man pages, $20. I have about 10 original art pages up high up on the walls. I started putting up in 95, 96, 97.
Yeah, I just remember we had that Spider-Man hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah. On the front window was one of those big blow-up life-size Spider-Man. We had him blown up. He was attached to the wall, showing outside the little strip mall. Yeah, that was
Paul,
fun.
now I'm gonna one up you just slightly, real quick. So I used to go to a store local to me, El Dorado Comics, which some people may remember. And Dave Braunstein, that's an art collector, was one of the owners with his brother. And I started going there in 1979 when I was 9 years old. And I asked them, and I don't remember which brother it was, but I said, hey, what happens to the original art? Because I'd love to buy that. And they just kind of, whoever it was, that gets destroyed in the printing process, kid. They just kind of brushed me off. Now, come to find out, you know, because I became friends with Dave as an adult, and actually bought when he sold a lot of his collection. I was involved in that. They had quite a bit of art. They had like Avengers 181 cover, Romita's Spider-Man pre-100 stuff, like just all Cockrum, Layton, Byrne, a lot of stuff. So and even though I was 9, I used to cut the grass in the summer. I was doing 100, 150 a week. I mean, you could have bought a lot of original art back in 1979 for that. So I feel your pain because I would, you know, and the irony is,
you at 9 years old, you were going to be competition, and they
well,
stopped you.
I don't know, but I mean, I ended up getting a sketch, my first piece of original art, aside from this Mickey Mouse that my parents got for me. But I ended up getting a sketch from George Perez in El Dorado's second location in Cherry Hill, and that I think that was 81 or 82. But you know, yeah, I would have been all over stuff back then. I mean, I'm not saying I would have, you know, but I would have bought a few things for sure.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel your pain.
I'm so envious of all you guys. You know, all the know, see like Lee Banaka's when we see those comic art ads, and I see those prices.
Right.
Blows
They were big pills to swallow. I mean, you know, when I was in college, I was a dirt poor college student borrowing off my Discover card to buy, you know, artwork, maxing out my Discover card. I had a $500 limit back then.
You had a credit card? I didn't have a credit card, and I couldn't even afford to go to college. Go ahead.
I was on a full scholarship, Burke, for engineering, okay? So, but I'm just saying, I mean, everybody, every generation of art collectors feels that way, believe me, because we look at some of the guys, like, you know, Mike started collecting 2 or 3 years before me. And 2 or 3 years are like dog years. They really are. And then we look at some of our mutual friends.
Well, you started a few years before I did, so it's sort of the same thing, you know. Like I remember when I first went over to your place and saw what you had, I was just like, my jaw like hit the floor. I was like, oh my God, you own that and that and that, and it was like, I mean, multiple Romita Spider-Man covers and multiple Jack Kirby Captain America covers, and I just was like, I have one.
Well, you left with a couple things that day, if I remember.
I did. Yes, I wasn't going to just let you keep everything.
Hey, no, talking about what you said, Will, believe it or not, I never even owned a credit card until right before the third Sotheby's auction. I realized, oh, these people take credit cards when I don't have money. I actually got 3 different credit cards that had 3,000 maxes. And I spent the whole $9,000 in the third Sotheby's, put it all on card. I said, I got to get this stuff. It's a one-time chance. I got my first 3 cards, maxed them all out to buy art at the third Sotheby's in 1993. And that's when I first, because I said, I don't want cards. I just realized, no, I need a card. If I can't pay cash for this stuff, let me pay it off over time.
Was that the auction that had the ASM 121 story, or was that the one before it?
No, that was the second one. That was the story. Believe it or not, I bought the Avengers 23 cover, Kirby Romita, $3,000.
Which was located 20 minutes from you if he hadn't put it in the auction.
20 minutes from me, and the FF40 cover, Kirby, was $6,000.
Wow,
those were the 2 pieces I bought in that auction. That was in the third Sotheby's.
Well, when you get to those pieces, Mike, let me know because I'm interested.
Actually, I owned them very short. They went to somebody right away.
I will quintuple your money times 2.
Yeah.
Paul,
No, I mean, listen. I mean, you know, credit cards. When you're a kid, it's an enabler, and it got me. You know, I can't say jams. I didn't get in any kind of trouble, but boy, oh boy, you know, paying the day it's due. I can't tell you how many times that happened.
Well, you just make the minimums for a while until you raise the money.
Nah, I couldn't make the minimums. I had to pay it off so I could buy the next dash of art or comic.
I agree.
You know, so Paul, I'm just saying you're definitely well in good company with that. We've all felt that way, and there's guys that were doing this long before us.
You ask Paul like what you're thinking about these days. Like what you have, like what's on your want list? What are you excited about trying to locate these days? I mean, not the things that. You don't have to tell us the things that you know you don't want other people to buy, but you know, like, I mean, in general, you know, what kind of things get you excited?
Yeah, in general, right? Well, actually, lately I've been on this kick of like hunting for, and I hope this doesn't put me at a disadvantage for people that I try to approach for it. But I've been hunting for first appearance pieces, and
right. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember you had asked me about if I knew where the I think the first Iron Fist splash was or something, and I had sold that, but yeah, the guy I sold it to has no interest in moving it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know who has the first Wolverine page. If you're interested in that,
I know who has that one. Yeah,
We can split the commission, but he'll never say.
No, he won't.
It's really tough because I know that there's a lot of competition for those kind of pieces. Guys want them. And they hide them, and all you guys that are hiding stuff out there. No, I'm just joking. I totally understand. I get it. But
Marvel and DC or just Marvel?
Marvel. Yeah,
Marvel.
Yeah, DC I was into with Super Friends. That was my thing, cartoons. But then for comic books, it was always Marvel.
Now, how far back with Marvel are you looking for? Silver Age, Bronze Age, more modern first appearances?
I mean, I can't afford a lot.
Well, you got a Daredevil 1 page. You afforded something.
But I mean, just like what Glenn said, Iron Fist is cool. I like that. Like that 70s. Not the main title guys, but the guys that are like around there. That's pretty cool. I did pick up something, and I wanted to. Hope it's okay to plug it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I got this, and can you see it? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys probably all know the title, right? Ninja High School.
Ninja High School, of course.
I went there for a couple years, but
the artist and creator, really nice guy, Ben Dunn. I've been looking at Marvel, and we'll talk about DC, and every once in a while online, I'm looking on eBay and I'm looking at other sites, and you see pages from Ninja High School, and we all of us, like we're more mainstream guys, but when you see indie books like this title has been going on forever, and I remember I have fond memories of this, like back in the '90s, early '90s, and looking at it, and I never thought that never thought that it would still be with him. I thought that it would be out in the universe and some other collector and all that. And I just wanted to say thanks. Like to Ben. Ben is really cool of you, and it's here. I got it. And it's alongside all these other guys that people know. They know more about and more more commonly talked about. But I recognize the history, all the work that the guy's done. This is like decades worth of stuff.
So did you approach Ben to buy that, or how did you find out that he still had it?
I did. I saw he had a couple of pages on Facebook, like it's from issue number 1, and he said, "Hey, might as well," And that's one of my things. Like I'm never satisfied just asking for face value. Like whatever the person shows that they have, it doesn't hurt to ask if they have more. And if
that's the cover to issue 1.
It is the cover issue.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And goes with the first appearances theme.
That's right. And it, like I said, it's not like one of those. I don't know if ballyhooed is the right word, but it's not like one of those, like first Daredevil or the She-Hulk that that we showed. I don't have it up, but it's 1%.
Yeah.
But these kind of things are like comic book history. It might not be mainstream, but it's definitely history, and I respect that. His work. I love the story. If you read the first issue, you get hooked. It's pretty cool stuff. But anyway, that's just my thing I wanted to share.
No, that's very cool. I want to change up pace just for a minute and take a couple questions. And this one can go to you first, Paul.
Good old Bill is locked up. Oh, there you go.
No,
I was reading something.
I can't see the questions.
So comments, far right. Click on that. See it. But I'll read it to you. Go highlight it. So Daniel Blake says, and it's about halfway up, Bill. What's your opinion on second print covers that use interiors for the new covers?
Second print covers that use interiors for the new covers. Is that for me?
Well, all of us. But I want you to start us off with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Variant covers are very,
Hey.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
You have to lean us
good.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I'm having like an air conditioning situation here so I'm gonna have to sign off, but I'll try and pop back in if I get done. Otherwise, I'll say goodnight. Paul, it was great having you here.
Thank you.
I'm really sorry to jump off, but I hope to talk to you again soon, and I'll see you guys later on.
Sounds
good. All good, Glenn. You get some air, buddy. You get some air.
Thanks.
No, please, Paul, please continue.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean I'm all for it. It's good for the artist. You know, it's a good opportunity for the artist, and then also for the collector. You know, it's kind of like one of those, you know, those bonus things. You know, I've heard a lot of stories where guys pick up just random pages, and oh, by the way, it's going to be a cover. Man, that's awesome for the collector.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it adds to the value. I mean, if an interior gets made as a cover, I mean, it's still a splash or whatever, but you know, it's become a cover, so it certainly doesn't hurt it. So I think it only helps. But I told a story, I think a week or two ago. I bought from Heritage, just real quick, similar thing. I bought a splash page of like Spidey 179 or 178. Has the Green Goblin. He's pulling Spider-Man in a net, and it's a splash page. And I can't believe it. I didn't even realize until later. I'm just moseying on the internet, and they used it as an alternate cover. It's one of the variants to Spider-Man 800.
there you go.
Flash
Yeah,
wow. I go, how cool is that?
Yeah,
You know, and they used it as a cover later. You know,
that's happening more and more. They're digging back and taking. Yeah,
the variants are just unbelievable
Right.
how they post those now. It's unbelievable how many they do now.
I mean, my feeling is it definitely adds. I agree with what both of you said. My only caution is something like the situation with the Detective 1000 cover, where there are literally countless numbers of variants. I like what DC has done as far as variant covers go, and it's fine to use an interior splash or whatever for second print, third print, trade paperback, what have you. But I like the fact that they have a regular cover and a variant cover too. Whereas, you know, you have sometimes you have 8, 10, and in the case of Detective 1000, I think there's something like 60 to 65 different variants. There might be more. I might be undercounting because there's like small print variants for particular stores. There's some overseas
stores get their
I mean,
own.
that just, if you can't even catalog and keep track of how many variant covers there are, then just it's too many.
Hey, real quick, I have a quick trivia question. Will probably be the one that gets this. What was the very first comic book that they made a direct and a newsstand version of? The very first one ever. Anybody have an idea? We all know it.
That's a trick question though, because there were actually there was newsstand and news.
I'm going to say direct and newsstand, not a variant. First time.
No, I don't mean variant. I mean they were coding them in a way that they looked the same, but they're actually specifically
totally different covers.
Oh, totally different covers.
Yes, the first direct and newsstand, and there's one.
Totally different covers.
Totally different covers.
No, I'm not going to get that. What is that?
You have an idea?
Somebody answered somebody answered in the comments. I was going to just say that, but I don't want to steal it.
Oh, somebody already answered it. I didn't go down and see.
There's a couple.
Yeah, well, there's two answers. One is a Marvel answer, another's a DC answer.
Oh, that's right. Well, I think it's Marvel. It happened in 1987.
Oh, wow.
Man of Steel had 2 different covers? I didn't know that. Anyway, for Marvel, it's the Ramita wedding covers.
Oh.
Those, to my knowledge,
that's the first time?
That's the first time, I believe. Remember, it's all the newsstand version is all the heroes and villains battling, and the direct version is all the friends on each side.
Yeah, no, I remember when you got the covers. The original, but I just didn't realize that was. I thought it had been happening before that, but I know that at some point there was, they were producing that comic cover. Some were being sent direct, and some were being sent to newsstand. But there wasn't the different coding with the UPC box, but it was still differentiated at the distribution level. So I thought that was a trick question.
The only reason I know is because John Romita told me that, and I go, I didn't even think about that, John.
I should have known it would be a Spider-Man. Question, though. But
I said,
hey, Paul, there's another question directly for you. It's from Jason D'Ambrosio.
Okay.
Paul, I just took a look at your CAF gallery and noticed you only have a few pieces on there. What is your reasoning for not posting more? Which I think you sort of covered, but
yeah, you own more than 5 pieces, right?
I'm sorry.
You own more than 5 pieces of art. You only post 5?
Yeah, I think I might have 8.
But at one time you had a pretty large sprawling CAF gallery, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. I've gone through different phases, probably like a lot of other guys. When I went to my first New Jersey Comic Con, I went through this phase where I was only collecting title splashes or title pages. And then for a while, I was only collecting Ramos, and I was only collecting Byrne at one time too. The most that I've had at one time, it's probably going back to when, you know, those collections that I mentioned. Like if I were to ever pick up a collection, then I'd have at most a couple hundred pages.
I remember you bought a nice collection of Iron Man pages back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Tuska, remember? Did you go partners with James on that? I remember you had a bunch of Tuska Iron Man at one time.
Yeah, well, kind of. You know, that was like one of the collections that I fell into, and of course, James and I partner up a lot. I mean, that's you know, like you always have to show. I'm forever grateful to him. I would have never known him, you know, and you know, besides the fact he's one of my best friends. So.
Yeah, and, James is a very savvy guy. In the
James is like a ferret, man. That guy can dig stuff up.
He really can. He really can.
And I know he's listening right now. So
that's why. I mean, we always try to make sure that the you know, what is the word I'm looking for? The flight path is clear. We don't stumble up on each other because we're just as tenacious at looking at stuff, you know, and we like fall up over each other. But yeah. Anyway, that was like one of the things, like in the write up, you know, or like description for my interview, I did mention that I did own at one, you know, over the course of 8 years, it's like a couple thousand pieces, but that's only because I've had hits of like 300, 400. And, you know, those are things where they weren't pieces that were going to be in my collection because I didn't collect those. They weren't in my interest. So, you know, some guys might call it flipping or whatever it is. I mean, I got them and I sold them, and there was nothing not transparent about it. It was just that they weren't for me.
Hey.
And, you know, and that happens a lot. Sorry, I might touch up. But yeah, when I'm looking for stuff that I want, and then I fall into something else that is there and available to me, if I pick it up, I don't know why anybody would fault me for that. You know, I don't get it.
Fault.
See a lot of guys that are online, and they like to, you know, they like to pick at those of us. We all sell.
Buy something and sell it quick. People
that's what a lot of collectors don't admit, is that they sell. You know, unless you have limitless funds. And the other thing, just real quick, and I'll get off my soapbox. Almost every dealer was a collector and still is.
Yeah.
And that's the people. Yeah, people don't get that.
And a lot of collectors are mini dealers, and they don't realize it.
Or don't want to admit it. But
But no, hey, listen, ever since I got in this hobby, I told everybody, I said, I know what I collect, but I tell people, when I first got in the hobby in the 90s, I said, I will buy that rock on the side of the road if somebody's going to give me 50% more than what I paid for it. And when I'm saying a rock, of course, it's a analogy of just a piece of art that I don't collect. You know, you go to cons, I buy something for 100 if I know somebody's going to pay me 150 when I get home. Right. Because that way that helps support my collection, you know. Yeah. How else are you going to do it unless you're a multimillionaire?
Yeah, that was my whole thing. And, you know, it doesn't always end up that way. I mean, a lot of the times, like, I find stuff and, like, I'll just tell my friend, I won't even, you know, I don't expect something for everything. You know, I'll point out stuff to people when I know they're looking for it. And it's just, I think the folks that I haven't had any interaction with, a lot of them are quick to judge. And I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's fine. I'm a grown man. I can take it if you have like something that you don't really, we don't see eye to eye with. But just to know, I mean, you know, like Mike, like what you said, I'm not a millionaire, you know, and I'm not looking to benefit off of somebody else intentionally. I'm just trying to do, like, if it's there, then I got to get it. You know, I mean,
you got to feed the habit, Paul.
Okay.
You got to feed the habit.
People always say, what's this worth? What's this worth? What's this worth? I go, it's worth what somebody's willing to pay is what it's worth. You could have something you think is worth $100,000. If nobody wants it, it's worthless.
Right.
You know.
Listen, as long as you're being honest and you're not cheating people, which I'm sure you're not. I'm not even suggesting that, but I'm just saying the plurality of you, us. As long as you're being honest, you're not cheating people, you're being straightforward. There's nothing for anybody to get upset about if you're able to buy something low and sell it higher. It doesn't mean you have to, you know, drain every penny out of it from someone. But, you know, the truth is, as we've all said, unless you are quite wealthy, and particularly in today's prices, how else are you going to do it? And like I said, when I was a college kid, I mean, very little money. I was selling comic books, and I was making triple what I paid on them. And guess what? That money was going to original art.
Yeah.
Was I wrong? I mean, the people that are buying comics were happy with the books I was getting them.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're doing anything wrong. I do think there is a certain group percentage of people that will just be unhappy no matter what you do. They'll complain about it, and maybe that's sort of their hobby. I don't know. I get frustrated too. Prices go up. Things I love, I can't always afford. I got to get creative, or just buy less of it, or find something else to collect. And that's the boat we're all in. And don't feel bad about it.
It's a twinge of jealousy, at least even for me, when I see some guys score good deals like that, where you maybe get to buy in bulk a bunch of things that, I didn't hear about. There's a little bit of that. But at the same time, for me, I like it when guys do that, because there's an excitement in seeing all this new artwork that wasn't on the market before. So to me, that little bit of jealousy doesn't last at all, because then I just want to see what's there. I would never fault anybody for that, because in your own way, you freed that artwork up to be able to be out on the market for another 100 people to enjoy. Right. Versus, so no, there's nothing to ever feel guilty about when those sorts of things happen. I mean,
people don't realize the amount of hours sometimes that you can put in finding that collection. I mean, or the hoops you may have jumped through.
And you know what? I mean, I could tell stories. It's not an exaggeration to say that I scan on my phone every 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes, the only break this is literally, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, I'm still scanning on my phone. It's every 10 to 15 minutes. And then
I feel you.
And it's exhausting every single. I don't want to give away any trade secrets, like stuff, sources of where I find stuff, but
no,
nothing that I've ever found was anywhere that anybody else could have found it. Anybody else could have found it if they would just push and dig. And I guess it helps because I worked third shift for 8-9 years, and then I watched my kids during the day, so I was used to sleeping 2-3 hours. So I got the standard for art all the time. It doesn't. I love the stuff. It's great, So, but going back to what we were talking about, I'm happy to help anybody. Anybody that you just message me, tell me what you're looking for. It's fine. If I know where it is, I'll help you. I'm happy to, because I know that it'll come around. It'll come around again.
It's great to put artwork in the hands of those that appreciate it. It's not always about putting it in the hands of that who's going to pay the most. Seeing someone else get joy out of something the way you get joy out of something, it is fulfilling. And I've experienced that many times as a dealer and even as a collector. And it is a good feeling. And yes, typically the karma will come back to help you, not haunt you.
Yeah. Yep, that's right.
So
I'm a big proponent of karma. Absolutely. Yeah. In that sense.
I got a question for Bill. Is that authentic?
Which one?
The Bigfoot cast behind you?
Oh, no, I actually, an artist friend of mine, he made a Yeti and a Bigfoot one. And my favorite ride at Disney is the Everest ride, with the Yeti on it. And that's actually his Yeti. That's his Yeti print, because you can see the big toes kind of offset.
Let's say it looks smaller, because Sasquatch is got a bigger print, right?
It was a bigger one, right? So what I wanted to do one day, I've got this great picture of my daughter in tears, riding right beside me because she hated the ride, and me with just a big, I'm and I want to put the two together. The print.
And you made her go again, didn't you, Bill? You made her go again.
I did over and over, and I every one of those pictures. What's that?
Doesn't your daughter like the ride now?
No.
Oh, she still hated it. I thought she liked it over time. So
no. I always thought she was making a face, just to be funny, to make me feel like she was really scared. And then 2 years later, she's like, "No, I'm really scared." Yeah, I mean, there's some classic ones where I swear she's in tears. There's one where I'm holding my cell phone, taking a selfie of us both while she's in tears, practically.
That Everest ride is a great ride. If people ever go to Animal Kingdom at Disney, once the virus goes away, that is a great ride.
Bill, I didn't know you had such a twisted sense of humor. I got to look at you a little different.
I didn't know.
I'm coming over at 7 a.m. to get you guys during a convention or something.
Yeah. But no, I bought I published that Infected by Art book, and it's all science fiction fantasy artists. And so I do a lot of work with the IX art show that's in Pennsylvania every year. And so that's a lot of the artwork back there. It was like a Bob Eggleton, Ian Miller. I just like pick up, I don't have a very big art budget, so I always pick up small pieces when I go there, just from like 5 or 6 different artists, just to get things. And so that was the guy who does that actually does like really big sculptures. So it was really weird when I walked in and I saw these prints, these casts that he made. And I'm like, oh, I can't afford the sculptures, but I can buy a cast foot from you.
No, that's cool though.
Yeah. See, and I've even got like my can of whoop ass right here too.
I was going to ask about that next.
Yeah. I used to play a lot of online games when I was younger. So yeah, well, not younger, 20 years ago. So yeah.
Last week.
Well, yeah, if I only had time. I've had like so many near misses in other things before I started CAF. When I was early doing like online gaming, there was like teams that you would form. So this was like in '97. I formed this team it was on a first-person shooter, but the name of the team was the Lake Erie Monsters. Right. And then those bastards took it and used that name as a hockey team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did that for a while, so I should have trademarked it. And then
you could always do Ohio Grassman,
The biggest of the Bigfoot.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Bill, you're a Renaissance man. I mean, you're ahead of your time here. You got to start trademarking more stuff.
I know. There was a game called Duke Nukem that they came out with, and I played a lot early on. And they were looking for level designers, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll make a level. And so I thought, what would be the perfect place to put Duke Nukem? So I made this big mod where he was in Las Vegas, and I sent it to the developers, and nothing, right? And I did all the graphics and made slot machines work and everything like that. And like a year later, they announced like the sequel. Where is he? He's in Las Vegas. And I was like, son of a bitch. I mean, I probably wasn't good enough to be a level designer, but conceptually, I had the right idea for the character. And, the only saving grace on that was it literally took them 10 years to get that product done and out there, and then everybody hated it. But still, to me, that they stole my idea.
Revenge.
Exactly. I even tried playing it for like 10 minutes. I was like, boy, this is terrible. No, but still. So then after that, CAF was like right within the next year or two following that, where I was just like, screw this. I'm just going to do what I enjoy really, and do stuff in comic art. So
it was that frustration of getting burned that just inspired you to CAF.
Right. It was like when you start doing things for other people, and then you find, thinking that that's going to move you along in your career. I was just like, I'm just going to do things that I like to do, and not worry about it. And that's what CAF was born just out of that, just that and Mike Berkey not letting me sit at the table at his house that one night.
Again. You could have went anywhere you want. There was no tape offs or anything.
Yeah, there was like
Berkey. That's just desserts because you don't let things go. Bill's not letting that go. It's just desserts for you, Mike.
I didn't even know who you were. I thought you were just the guy that came in off the street. Remember?
I didn't look like Walt Simonson. I know that.
Bill came to one of our art gatherings at my house, and he just stayed in a corner and didn't move.
Yeah.
And he got the suitcase of the chickpeas and didn't want to come to the big table where all the big art was being shown. So.
Oh boy, here we go.
But that's back in the day. See, Mike, you said earlier in the conversation, you talked about the idea that that the artwork that you were getting for trade for other people. That was kind of what I saw going on the table there, and it was intimidating to watch. All these older looking guys like yourself all around the table. Doing something, to me, I was spending $300 or $400 on pages, and I knew that whatever was happening at that table, I probably wasn't qualified to stand by and watch, but
right. I remember there were guys like Ethan Roberts there who sort of holds the whole room to himself, and a couple of older guys, right. that were just there.
Bill, that was one of the gentlest backhanded insults I've seen in a while.
I know.
Little do people know that Bill's a year older than me. Oh no, I'm older.
That's right.
I'm way older than Bill. Don't worry.
Paul, I have a confession, and you don't have to say, but now that I know you grew up in the 70s and 80s, so you are closer in age, with me and the rest of them than I thought. For some reason, because you're collecting Ramos, I was like, yeah, this guy's probably like 36, 38. I couldn't tell from your picture,
Yeah. I'm a child of the 70s, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
71. Born in
What's
71.
that?
I was born in 71.
Oh, you're a year younger than me.
Yeah.
Holy moly! I thought he was like 15 years younger than you. Well, anyway,
Oh.
I'm pretending I'm Bill there for a second. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's all right, Mike. I know how it feels. I know you feel like that all the time, so it's okay.
No, listen. When I used to go to these conventions with all these guys, I was always the young guy. Now I'm the old guy, I guess. When we talk art and everything like that.
That's one of the things that's really cool too, and I didn't mention it. There's so many collectors, like seasoned collectors, that are, that have these unbelievable collections. And then all the new guys, when they come up or they get introduced to the hobby, everybody's so friendly. I have never, like guys like Nick. He was great for me when I first started. Nick Atratis.
What?
Yeah, Nick Atratis.
Nick's a great guy.
Joey was great for me.
Joey's a great guy. Nick's a great guy. No.
Yeah,
everybody, I said, to me, art people are a lot different than comic book people, I think, because we like to show our stuff off, whereas I think more comic book guys, I think, are more secretive in what they have. Yeah. But we like showing our stuff off. I think it's cool.
Sure. Yeah, what's cool is that there's a whole bunch of different, it's like when you make the connection and then you know that it seems like it's a really small world.
We are a small niche. I can't tell you. I'm sure everybody talks about, well, how many people not into our hobby? I always tell them, yeah, I bought this piece for 20 grand. They go, who in their right mind would pay 20 grand for something like that? I go, me. And there's a lot of guys like me out there. But I said, you got to be in this hobby to understand it,
It is a small, the thing is there are thousands of collectors, and I know that for a fact. I if I look back through my contact lists on a couple of my laptops and my phone, there's thousands of collectors for sure. The thing is, there's only probably a few hundred very actively collected. Very active at any one given time collecting. That's the thing. But there's guys on the peripheral that they go on occasion to a show or bid at an auction or go to a dealer's site. But it is a pretty small. I can't tell you how many times that a deal would take place and I wasn't involved, and I'm already hearing the details of it because little birds like to chirp. So it's larger than you think, and yet it's kind of smaller than you think.
Yeah.
Well, it's for the best, though. If there were 100,000 art collectors, everything would be 5 or 10 times more expensive than they are right now. And we're
going to get Mike excited.
I know. Well, yeah. Clearly the hobby has grown exponentially in the last 15 years, and that's really why the prices have gone up. When there's more buyers, that's just what happens. It's natural.
Supply and demand.
Yeah. It's access, because yes, it has grown. There are more buyers, but there were a lot more buyers than people thought even 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. Just if you networked, you knew there were a lot. Because I would hear people say, "Oh, there's only maybe 3 or 4 guys interested in whatever piece," and I'm like, no. If I went through my contact list, there's probably 25 or 30 guys or 40 that are interested, but they're not connected because there was no internet.
Right.
So access makes a huge difference.
Why you had to be active in the Comics Buyers Guide or go to the shows. That was it. Those are the only 2 places to meet people.
Paul, you said you started 8 years ago, so 2012,
somewhere around there, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It hasn't been long at all. Not really.
Yeah, I thought you were in the hobby longer, Paul.
No,
you came to my house like 5 years ago, wasn't that? When did you come over?
It was like
when we did the Byrne team-up cover deal.
Yeah.
About 5 years ago. I kept thinking you were collecting for years. I didn't know you were sort of just new into it back then. I didn't know.
Yeah. Anybody who has been to Mike's house, you're in for.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like
Bill's going to show pictures one of these shows. So
every Spider-Man every Spider-Man fan's dream.
Yeah, I always tell people when they come over my house, I always say, "This is the house that Spider-Man built," because if I didn't collect Spider-Man, I'd never be able to have a place like this. So,
Yeah.
So it's in homage to Spider-Man and John Romita, my second father.
And Santa Claus. Let's not forget Santa.
Christmas
And I
stuff.
collect Santa. I collect Christmas themed art too. Yeah.
Don't you dress up as Spidey on Christmas or something like that?
No,
I'm not
I
trying to be
actually
funny.
play Santa Claus for my church during the holidays.
I remember that, but I thought you also dressed up as Spidey with like the Santa hat or something. No.
He would have to pay somebody to do that.
Yeah, our buddy Bruce, right?
Yeah,
I'm not cut out for Spider-Man. I'm cut out for a different version of Venom, I think. Older Venom. I'll be older Venom.
Sam Keith Venom?
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, that's one of the pieces I'm looking for.
A
First,
great Sam Keith.
no. First Venom. That's one.
Oh.
That last black.
I'll tell a real quick story here.
Okay.
I missed it. 1990. No, it's around 1990. Comics Buyer's Guide.
Oh,
The last page splash, the $2.99, the big Venom versus Honey.
yeah.
Home. That was $600 and I classified in the Comics Buyer's Guide. I called. The guy goes, "Oh, it just sold." I just said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
That's
you know.
$600 in a Comics Buyer's Guide classified. Can you imagine what that would go for today? Ooh,
I'm gonna find it, Mike. I'll find it.
it's out there. It's at least you know it's out there.
I remember seeing the best 3 battle pages from, I guess, is it 315 or 316, where Venom and Spidey battle in the meat factory, and the page where Spidey gets like all that meat on him and he freaks out.
Yeah.
I remember somebody at a New York show had 3 consecutive pages, and I mean they were like the price of a Byrne cover back, like, I don't know, $450, $500, and I was like, oh, I can't just it, but I was like, wow, they're great, but I either got to buy this Byrne cover or I got to buy this McFarlane page. I chose the cover, but so Paul, what do you consider? Because, you know, some people say the first Venom is like, you know, ASM 252 because it's the symbiote, and others will say 298 or 300 full appearance. I mean, what do you?
You know, I went through the whole thing too. You know, when
Or Secret Wars 8.
Secret Wars,
Or Secret Wars 8.
right,
Where it gets it.
41. You know,
It was actually drawn earlier, but it got published later.
yeah, it was also they showed, I think, Eddie Brock in the shadows of one of the Web of Spider-Man books.
Yeah, there's 2 books where Spider-Man's remember it's Spider Sense don't go off. He pushes in front of a
That's
train.
it.
Like Web of Spider-Man 17, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
It happens, but he's never shown. Yeah,
You know, the 299 end splash got to be it. You know.
yeah. 299 end splash to me is it
Yeah.
for
That's
Venom.
There's no mistake in it's Venom. 299 last page.
Right.
Splash.
Yeah.
Well, the page before the last page splash, Mary Jane sees just 2 white eyes. She goes, "Peter, is that you?" Remember, Mary Jane looked on the page before. You see his eyes in the shadows. Then he's the big ass Venom. He goes, "Honey, I'm home." Like Jack Nicholson. It's freaking awesome. that thing, I can only imagine. Woo.
Yeah, I follow that whole thread in CGC forum where, you know, people are trying to find it and stuff like that. And,
You know what? I've just real quick, not change the subject. I mean, I own a couple pages, and I almost think technically, when you realize, because it's always a costume until you realize Spider-Man 258.
Yeah.
Remember when he goes to the Fantastic Four and they say it's a symbiote, and then they knock it off his body and have it in a cage? I
yeah,
have a couple of pages from 258 where the costume is off him in the cage, and I go, technically, that's the first appearance of the symbiote.
That was my point. There's so many like
I
little.
would even say that as first
leading
Venom.
up.
You know, is some panels from 258 where Reed Richards knocks the costume off of Peter, and it has that evil look on it has almost a Venom look on its eyes before it, you know, finds Eddie Brock. You know.
yeah. I think CGC kind of muddies the water sometimes because they have, or is it CGC? Yeah, when people go and look at the description that it says, they call out what the first appearance is on the book, on the slabs, right?
Mhm.
What do they say? I was curious when they say the first is.
I think they said first full is 300, if I'm not mistaken. But
Well,
I've seen-
first full should be 299.
yeah, it's like I've
first
seen,
full story, but first appearance. Yeah.
right, but they put like for the first Hobgoblin, everybody recognizes that like as 238, right? But they, I mean, in my opinion, you know, you still see him in full. I think is it 237 at the end of the book?
No, 238 last page. I have the page right before the last page splash where he's putting on the costume and the mask is there and everything. Yeah.
You
But
do?
cool. It's just like the first Venom. The last page of 238.
Mike, I didn't know you had that.
Yeah, I have the page before the last page. Our buddy in Florida, Juan, had the last page. I think he still owns it.
Oh, there you go. There's one.
Yeah. Brian also mentioned what a South Jersey institution El Dorado Comics was, and that is so true.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, wasn't Sparkle City in Jersey too by them?
That was in Glassboro, which is further south, College Town, and wasn't quite. I mean, El Dorado was a storefront on originally on Westfield Avenue in a small town called Pennsauken, and then it moved to Cherry Hill on Kings Highway in a shopping center. But it was a brick and mortar walk up, new issues, back issues, and what made it, the Braunstein brothers that owned it, they were pretty young back then, but they got so much talent from Marvel and DC to come through that store, artists, writers. I mean, it was not uncommon to see John Byrne, Chris Claremont, George Perez, Terry Austin, Bob Layton, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, just, right there on a next Saturday on a little backing board in marker. Next Saturday, Dave Cockrum, come get signings.
That's awesome.
I mean, they hustled that store, and then they went mail order. So people do remember it. And all the art, I think somebody mentioned in the comments, and I apologize for not saying who it was, but I just they used to stamp on the back, El Dorado Comics.
Yeah, so I had a lot of art at El Dorado. Sparkle City used to stamp, I think, on the back too.
Sparkle City at one point stamped. Little Nemo bookstore.
Little Nemo would always stamp. And what's our buddy from Florida always stamped? Joe, the guy that had
Latimer.
Robert Latimer always stamped.
Bob Latimer. You know, it's funny. When I first started collecting, I was going to get a little stamp. I was thinking, what could, and I was going to stamp art, and I just thought, it's so sacrilegious. What if all this crap bleeds through, and years later, people are going to be like, what the hell did you stamp it for?
I always had a thought of stamping mine with invisible ink in case somebody ever stole my art. I could say, hold it up to UV light, property of Mike Berkey.
You haven't done that already, Mike?
No, I was thinking of doing it, but I never did.
You guys got it.
Invisible ink with.
Listen, when I make these suggestions.
But my feeling is, if somebody's going to steal it, it'll get found out anyway. So.
Well, they do all that DNA stamping on movie posters and weird stuff like that. So it wouldn't surprise me that something like that could find its way into our hobby one day.
It has. It has.
Yeah.
There's it's called. I don't know if it's called DNA, but they put there's actually a little chip that you can put on the art. That's it's the size of like a period. I mean, it's tiny.
Very tiny.
And it's droppable.
I was going to mention just one quick. We always regret the things we didn't do. I always remember one of my biggest regrets early on in the hobby. It's probably 1990. Sparkle City has a huge ad in the Comics Buyer's Guide. They have like 75 Romita Amazing Spider-Man pages listed. All of them are like $35 a piece. But I had to go through my comics. Probably out of 75 pages, only like 5 of the pages had Spider-Man on it, and they wanted $35 a page. Well, Mitch Hickers was selling twice up Spider-Man page with Spider-Man on it for $40 and $50 at the time. So all I did was I just called the guys up at Sparkle City and I go, hey, you have 75 pages at $35 a page. I go, Spider-Man's only on like 5 of them. I go, can you give them all to me for $30 a page? I'll pay you right now. And they go, nope. And I was just flustered. I said, forget it. And I never bought any. So that was always one of my biggest regrets back in the day.
And now you paid so much more to get those pages because you probably found most of them.
But that was a ton of money. And I said, I'll just go and keep buying from Mitch because these guys are charging, which was high at the time. I go, character pages, nobody even wanted back then, But me. But they wouldn't tell me.
I'll make a suggestion, Paul, since now Mike has the Iron Man homage, Hobgoblin from 238 and he's got the symbiote trapped in the glass in the Baxter building.
Those are technically first appearances, Paul. Yeah.
Paul, you should just safely mask, socially distance, but maybe pay him a visit and maybe outdoors on his deck that overlooks the lake, and maybe you guys can make a deal.
As a matter of fact, next week's show I'll send Bill a scan so we'll post them real fast.
Hey, that's cool. That's cool.
Hey, yeah.
Actually, I was looking at the comments. Like somebody was asking about finding, what is this called? finding a page, like a random page to complete a book.
Yes, that's a good one. That's one I wanted to ask you. I'm glad you caught that.
I mean, first resource is always going to be comic art fans. That's always the first resource. You always look there. I mean, if you're searching for it, right? And if you can't find it there, you know, via the collections, then go to the dealers and
let people know.
Yeah, people know. And you know,
Because there's wanted ads on CAF too, right, Bill? I think.
Yeah, you can put them there.
But I would post on a CAF and just say what you're looking for. I used to do that back in the day.
Yeah, because otherwise, good luck. You know, there's like pieces that people have, and if it's just a minor page that, you know, say for example, you want something that, like Mike said, it doesn't have Spider-Man on it, you know, random book, you know, the only way is to let people know. Yeah.
I will say I've sold a lot of pages to guys that have said, "Oh man, I need this. It's a nothing page," but they go, "Oh, I need that page that can complete a 2 or 3 page sequence." I think, great, man, I found the right home. You know?
Yeah.
Don McPherson, who posed that question, was leading off of Paul spoke about tracking down significant pages through networking, so he was asking about minor pages. I would say the biggest ingredient of tracking anything down, whether you're putting together a sequence or a story, is patience.
Yeah,
and networking.
Well, networking, but I'm just saying, be prepared. It takes patience.
Oh, I see.
I've seen guys that want to put together a story, and after a year and a half, they're frustrated. They're like, I can't find all the, and I'm like, there were books I was putting together for 15 years and, you know, 20 years. It takes time sometimes.
I told people, and this may not come to fruition, I told people the Spider-Man 46 book, you know, my first piece of art was from Spider-Man 46 in 1989. Took me 26 years. I completed the story. So, you know, I'm just saying it does happen. Same thing with Spider-Man 98, the greatest Spider-Man Goblin battle issue.
Yeah.
You know, I needed one page, and out of the blue in like early 2000s, Scott Dunbar, who I believe is going to be a guest on one of our near shows, he walked the guy to my table, and I worked the deal out with Cash and Trade, and the one page was just the best battle page of the book, where Spider-Man has his leg wrapped around the Goblin's head. I think it's page 17 or 18, and I can't believe it. And I completed the story, set up at a Chicago Comic-Con, and Scott Dunbar helped me complete the book that I still have complete today, Spider-Man 98. So
that's one of my goals too. I want to either. I don't think I have the patience to put together a book page by page.
It's a long haul, my friend. Yeah. It can be a very long haul. I was putting together maybe 7 or 8 stories, and then I decided, mostly were Byrne. I decided, you know, there was so much money tied up. I mean, just real quick, there was a Byrne FF book I was close to putting together. I think I had it 19 out of 22 pages, and I had the cover. And the 19th page, I paid as much as I had paid for the previous 18 pages combined. And at that point, I said, you know what? I think I'm done. This has become an obsession, and I just took this too far. I just jumped the shark. It's time to back up. And I ended up breaking up the book very slowly, very methodically. Yeah. Right now, I'm putting together basically 2 stories. There's a couple sort of pseudo if they'd fall into my hands, but
yeah, what is yours? Well, tell us all.
One is Marvel, one is DC, and neither one is Byrne. I'll tell you that much, and that's all I'm saying.
Cool.
Networking, get it out there. Maybe somebody watching this has the page.
When I get closer, Mike, I know where some of the pages are, so I'm not gonna, you know.
You know how that goes. If Will tips his hand, somebody will offer it to him for twice what it's. Yeah. You know.
9 out of 10 people will be helpful, and it's that 10th person. They will take it to the cleaners if they can. So, you know,
I'll keep a lookout for this one though.
Yeah.
Starman.
I'll let you know, Paul. You know, offline, I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you know stuff that I'm after too. So.
I do, and remind me, because you've changed. You know, there's some things you've changed since when first we met.
Yeah,
for sure.
I flip flop around a lot about stuff, but I'm sure a lot of guys do. You know, like you know, kind of like that thing where your quest to fill a certain book. Like at one point, I was collecting Marvel Universe. You know, Handbook of the Marvel Universe stuff. And,
Guilty.
Yeah, you know, it comes to a point where, you know, like you figure out there's no way I'm going to collect all of them. And
I
there's
was.
I'm going to find the key ones that I want. I never found the Spider-Man one. I was always looking for.
Oh yeah, no. Some have never or they haven't been seen in many years. I was my goal was to try and get to all the Byrne Fantastic Four related pinups. You
Yeah.
know, which most are villains. And at one point, I think I had maybe 35 of them, and I had a total of maybe 45 or 48 Marvel Universe pinups.
Wow.
And then I just decided, you know what? I think I'd rather own 4 or 5 covers instead of all these pinups. And I sold all of them. I have one now. That's it. Kept my favorite. So,
Like it says, our collecting habits change sometimes.
Yeah.
Keep the stuff you like the most.
So let me ask you guys, what's the farthest you've traveled to pick up a piece now for your personal collection?
Oh. Opposite end of the country.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
I guess that's as far as it goes. Nobody flown overseas or anything like that.
haven't had to because pieces that were farthest from me distance-wise, I've been able to, through networking, through people I'm allied or friends with, have been able to physically get the pieces for me and send them to me. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many San Diegos I missed that I bought stuff in the room because someone was in the room and had my back and found, they knew I wanted whatever and called me and, hey, you want me to buy this and can you pay me back right away? And yeah.
That's awesome.
I have just a real quick funny story. It wasn't actually a collection piece, but a girl called me out of the blue. I don't know if you're old enough to remember. It's an old group called the Kingston Trio. They were founded in San Francisco. It was an old singing group. Anyway, this girl, her father founded the three guys. It was a band in the 50s and 60s, the Kingston Trio. Anyway, her father died. She goes to the garage. She had 3 beautiful peanut sundaes from the 50s and 60s.
Wow.
And she goes, I want to sell these, and people have offered me like $5,000 a piece. I go, I'll buy them. Again, this is like the year 2002. And honestly, I gave her $50,000 for everything. Again, this is 2002. And I had to fly to Arizona. Oh my God, this girl and her boyfriend picked me up, and I'm holding cash in my hand. And they picked me up at the airport. We went to this hotel. They had this little marker to make sure all my bills were real. And I got these 3 Sundays, and I sold them to the Schultz estate, and I made a lot of money.
Berkey, you called me on your way before they picked you up, and you told me your location. You said, in case they abduct me,
yes,
I want somebody to know.
I need to have somebody
like, call my brother John. If you don't hear from me in this many hours, call John because
I go, what am I gonna do? I go, I'm at their mercy. I'm in their truck with them. They pull a gun, I'm done.
It was like late night, and you knew I was one of the few people up.
They picked me up at 1:30 in the morning in Arizona. Yep. And as a matter of fact, they go, where do you want to go? I go, take me back to the airport. I went to the airport back at like 3 a.m. and waited for my 10 a.m. flight to fly home.
Don't take me to the desert, please.
No, I know. So that was a funny. That's the farthest I traveled to do a deal there. So
you've gone a few times to Arizona. I think.
Yeah, I picked up that Byrne FF cover. Girl paid $1 at a Goodwill store. That's only like 3 years ago.
Oh man!
And she said, and I gave her $30,000 for it. And she says the most people offered me was $5,000. I go, I'll give you $30,000. She goes, done. I flew to Arizona, met her, and did the deal. She found it for $1 at a Goodwill store in Arizona. I think it was the FF like 235 cover, something like that.
235. Yep, the Ego, the Living Planet. That is actually in my dream. I go to a store and I find a Jack Kirby Journey into Mystery cover for like $5,000. And that I would probably just collapse.
Yeah.
Wow. But my nightmare is I don't have the cash on me and they won't.
And they want to do the deal right that second.
and it's a Sunday and I can't go to the bank. That's right. That's my nightmare part of that.
That would be a nightmare.
And Glenn is standing right behind you, waiting to take.
Well, no, it happens in my little neck of the woods. That's
All right.
It's
well,
cool.
I won't say
It's cool finding stuff that the buyer, they picked it up going to a con, and they just put it in their closet, and they 20, 30 years later, they're like, hey, what is this? And
That happens a lot. You know, just real quick, you remember when they had that big long Heritage had that big long run of Spider-Man 39 pages at auction? I heard through the grapevine a guy just found those in a closet from somebody, all these Spider-Man 39 pages, and there was a couple of covers. I think the Spidey 62 cover was in that, and a bunch of other things, but they said they weren't even in a bag. The guy just sent them to Heritage, didn't even have them in a bag, and just sent them to them. They found it in a closet.
Yeah.
The Spidey 61 cover was above a garage on the Jersey Shore in the storage area above a garage.
Is that right?
That's where I found it.
Oh, wow. That's a great find. That's nuts. Yeah, I've heard like that too. Like one of the guys that I bought a piece from, he actually had his hanging up in his garage. Like he was a mechanic, and it was up in the garage.
Garage.
Yeah, garage. Yeah, really nice guy. Those are really cool. And then, you know, of course, you hear about all the flea market finds. Like I have.
They used to happen. They used to really happen. Yeah.
It's nuts. Like,
the guy that Berkey got the Spidey 71 cover, the Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Who's an old time collector. He's a friend of Hans's actually, Paul. And I went to school. Hans and I went to the same college. He was there 15 years before me, but University of Delaware. But this was in northern Delaware. And this guy was a friend of Hans. They've been friends many years. But he lived above a auto body place. He had a small apartment, rented an apartment above an auto body place. And when you first go up the stairs, you know, you drive into this auto lot. It was a big auto lot. And you know, you go up the stairs, and on the wall, when you first go in his apartment, was the cover to Batman. I'm going to forget the number, but it's a war cover. It's a golden age. It's like 1942, 43, something like that. And it was sitting there right on the wall. I just can't remember. I'll try and remember for the next show which issue. But yeah, some strange places you can find things is right.
That's nuts.
I didn't get the cover or anything. I think I bought an Iron Man page from him that day. He didn't sell me anything big and exciting like that, but unusual place.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, that's good. You're breaking up on us a little bit there, Will.
Yeah, Will, you're stick. There you go. You're better now. You were locked up there for a little bit.
It's been happening throughout the show. I don't know. We're gonna have to check on that.
Yeah, now you're the one that has to get a new camera.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Paul, listen. It's been a pleasure. I know Bill's about to wrap up. It's been a pleasure, man. Speaking with you.
Nice seeing you again, buddy.
Yeah.
Bye again.
Let's stay in touch more. Not just we usually talk via Facebook. You and I think most of the time.
Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely stay in touch.
When all this craziness in the world is done.
Absolutely. I was going to show you a picture of my daughter crying, just so you can see.
I want to see it. We got to see it.
My parent. It's not on Everest though. This is on Rock and Roll Roller Coaster.
Bill, you're a bad man.
She's not watching right now. She doesn't know. So that's her right there.
Oh man,
you can see it sitting right next to me. She is in. I mean, and I thought she was just making a joke all the time. And this is her like usual face. And that's my daughter and my wife in front of me. So we're all having a great time, and there she is.
That is so funny. What do you remember? What ride that is? Is that
that's Rock and Roll Roller Coaster? That's like
I was just going to say if that was the what's their group name?
Aerosmith
roller coaster.
Aerosmith, yeah, that's right. Because it's sitting still and then it shoots you off like 70 miles an hour.
0 to 70 in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, so she was in tears, but yeah, that might have been the last time she rode it too. Like the next time I tried to get her to ride, she sat outside and waited for me to ride it by myself.
That's great. You got a picture of it though. I just remember taking my kids to a haunted house one time, and it was like a local thing that a middle school put on, but it's one of the best productions for like 12, 13, 14-year-olds I've ever seen. But my middle daughter at the time, she jumped literally on top of she was probably 6 or something. She jumped on top of my head like a cat. I literally had to carry her out like this. She was stuck to me like terror. I wish somebody would have got a picture of that.
Yeah, they never forget those things.
Oh, that's funny as heck.
But Paul, yeah, it's been awesome, man. I'm glad we had the chance to talk. And I didn't know you were in Columbus, so that's crazy. We were talking about trying to make a trip to Ohio State to see the art collection there. Maybe,
nice.
I checked their website. I mean, I know they're closed, during COVID and everything. So hopefully, either maybe late in the fall, or maybe we might have to wait till spring or something. But because we were thinking, getting Will and Glenn to come out and to see the Berkey estate and all the Spider-Man stuff. But then we wanted to make a trip down to Columbus because that would be a really good trip. So if we do it, we'll definitely let you know when we're coming down.
I got another reason to come to Ohio. Yeah, absolutely. It'd be great to have you.
It is phenomenal. You go there, it is something else.
I imagine you've been, right?
Yeah.
See, I've lived here all my life. I got relatives in Columbus, and I've never been there.
Besides the Calvin and Hobbes, I mean, you can actually go online and look through their catalog.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's got great stuff in there. Byrne covers. There's some Byrne covers in there, or one I know of. A Starlin Warlock cover. They got Kirby art in there. Great stuff. I think isn't one of the guys that's like on Comic Art Fans is like somebody on one of the boards.
A curator or something?
Yeah, his name is Colin.
I don't know.
If he wasn't anymore. But,
I think they have a lot of Milton Caniff there too. I think.
You do, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I still that's one of my dreams. Like going through Waterton, went to Kenyon College, like driving through and then happening upon a flea market and then you see a Calvin and Hobbes there. That'd be awesome.
Well, hopefully soon, things open up again, but well, again, it's been a lot of fun, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And
it got so much better after Glenn left. It got more enjoyable.
Oh,
I was thinking of that, but I wasn't going to say it because Glenn's going to watch this.
I meant for enjoyable for him to get his air back. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate it as always. Paul, it's been a great pleasure. Good night, everybody. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.
Paul, stick around for a minute.
Yeah.